All right, we now welcome on to the program of the 2021 NFL Draft Class out of Nebraska, offensive tackle Brenden Jaimes. That's actually my first question. Is it James or Jameis like Winston?
It's actually pronounced Jaimes, but
Jaimes. Okay, so it's like the
yeah,
Hispanic version of Jamie.
yes, sir.
Okay, I have a brother named Jamie, so we hit him with that a lot. Um,
Nice.
so welcome on to the program. I saw you at the Senior Bowl. Wanted to get to talk to you. It was a pretty cool experience. But I want to kick it to Justin first, since Justin is the Nebraska fan. So I'll let him take it away.
Yes. Hello, YouTube crowd. You get to see that the cup holder that I have next to me is always a Nebraska Cornhuskers. It's not a cup holder. What is it called? A coaster. Thank you. There you go. Great start. Brenden, first of all, thanks for coming on. Now the tradition at Nebraska, one of the reasons why I was attracted to Nebraska growing up is the tradition at Nebraska. I feel like it's like no other. And the tradition of really the offensive line and the grittiness of the program. And you got the black shirts on defense, but really I was raised on Nebraska and the offensive line and running the ball and being physical up front. So is that something that is really preached? And then also, was that something that also attracted you to Nebraska as an offensive lineman, like the tradition of the offensive line?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was probably the biggest reason why I went to Nebraska was to, be a part of that tradition and grow and become a great offensive lineman for Nebraska myself. And during the recruiting process, that was like one of the biggest things that I looked at in a program was that offensive line play and being able to run the football and do all the things that you need to do in order to become a great offensive lineman.
So I ask this because I mess with Justin all the time. Do people in your family, friends give you heat for the Cornhusker nickname? I always kind of, needle him about like, what's a Cornhusker?
Yeah, all the time, especially the guys back home in Texas. They're like, what's a Cornhusker, this or that, and things like that. But it's all good.
I played at a Division III school and the conference was the MIAC, and we were the St. Olaf Olies. They had the Carlton Carls, the St. Thomas Tommies, the St. John's Johnnies, which everyone made fun of me for that. But I thought the best one was the Concordia Cobbers, which I think edges Cornhuskers a little bit.
Don't let anybody hate on it too, because every single fantasy team that I own is the New Jersey Huskers, and it's got a dope logo with the black shirts. So don't let anybody hate on it. Don't
Nice.
You dare.
Yeah, I won't.
My last Nebraska jab before we get to some more serious questions is: does Scott Frost talk about winning a national championship at UCF?
No, he was real focused on Nebraska and didn't really like talking about the UCF days just because he didn't really want to talk about the past and was really focused on kind of what he wanted to get started at Nebraska. So, obviously if you had questions about, the things that they did at UCF, I'm sure he'd answer them, but he wouldn't just bring them up on his own.
Yeah, I'm from Central Florida, so the whole national championship thing, we had fun with that. But it's on and seriousness. So Scott Frost, I mean, he seems like the real deal. Obviously Nebraska hasn't been like top of the nation or anything, but he does seem like the real deal with what he's done at UCF in the short time in Nebraska. Justin.
Yeah, so one of the things that I kind of want to start off with, we have you on, and we want to promote you, and a lot of the college prospects that we have on, I kind of ask a similar question. For those who may not know you, kind of give us your elevator pitch. Who are you as a football player? How would you describe yourself as a football player, a teammate, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, so I would describe myself as someone who leads by example. I think getting things done on the field and in the weight room is kind of how I fell into a leadership role at Nebraska. Wasn't a big rah-rah guy, wasn't a big talker. Just felt like that wasn't needed on that team. I just felt like in order to get the culture back right to where it was when we were winning a lot of games and championships, that was the leadership and culture that we had on the field. So I was just kind of trying to bring that back the best I could and bring the guys along with me. So.
Yeah. And one of the things that the lines that you said is, I really had no reason to transfer. And, you look at the majority of the NFL, the majority of the NFL isn't always, competing for Super Bowl year in and year out. So there's a lot of teams that may go through some troubling times, and certainly Nebraska has gone through them. But that line of, I really had no reason to transfer, I think really put on the forefront your commitment to the program. And I think that's something a lot of NFL fans would also like to see as well. So talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it was just the first time being away from home, so obviously everyone was wondering what a lot of guys were doing, especially after that first coaching change. And ultimately at the end of the day, I committed to Nebraska to play for Nebraska and to represent them and the state and the people that come along with it. So I didn't necessarily commit to that coaching staff, even though that was another big reason why I went to Nebraska. Really enjoyed Mike Riley's staff, and Coach Kavanaugh, the O-line coach, really wanted to play for him longer. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, but when Coach Frost's staff came in and I met Greg Austin, the O-line coach there now, couldn't have asked for a better staff to step in and replace them. And like I said before, I didn't really see a reason to transfer. Obviously, I went to Nebraska to win games and become a better version of myself, and I think I at least did that second part.
So I want to switch. You obviously had a good career at Nebraska. Now, you caught my eye at the Senior Bowl, and that's how I came to notice you. So you obviously were good enough to get invited there. One, how was that Senior Bowl experience? Because you're playing in the Big Ten, so you're playing against top competition all the time, but it's different playing against top competition every single rep. And then with that, who was the best defensive end, defensive lineman that you probably went up against there?
Yeah, so the whole week, it was just a great experience. It was very taxing physically and mentally, especially with the whole COVID situation thing going on. I played a lot more on the right side than I thought I was. Only got one day at left tackle, really. And then pretty much the rest of the week played right guard and right tackle. That first practice, I was at right guard, and it was my first time playing guard ever. So it came with its ups and downs. And what I was most proud of was that the next time I got put at right guard and right tackle, I improved a lot. So I think that just kind of shows that, I'm very coachable and can put a bad day past me and move on from it, which I think is important, especially in the offensive line and in the NFL. As far as best D linemen, I mean, they were all really, really good, really talented, really quick. And, obviously they were there for a reason. I think the best guy that I went up against was the guy from UCLA, the D tackle.
His brother was a giant. It's his name is tough. It's like OC or something like that.
Odigizua.
Yeah. But I got to know him pretty well, off the practice field and stuff like that. And he's a great guy, good guy. And he's great on the football field. Definitely one of the best guys that I went up against that week.
So you said you played guard for the first time, and in one-on-ones, that's probably a little more difficult playing that position for the first time. But in team period, were you like, man, guard's a lot easier than tackle?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, having help on either side of you for the first time was pretty nice, especially in pass protection. I felt in the run game I did really well. Felt like I opened up a lot of holes, especially in the run game. And then in the pass game, I did feel like it was a little bit easier, especially like in slide protection when I had center help and then I could go help the tackle. Something I'm not really used to, but I'm willing to learn just because I found it to be fun. So, yeah, I mean, playing guard was definitely a new but really good experience, and looking forward to maybe playing it in the future.
Well, a guy who did play tackle at Nebraska and moved to guard and then center. We actually led the Nick Gates for Center 2020 campaign. Nick Gates. So we got to ask you, what was it like having Nick Gates as a teammate? Because something we learned, and I think one of his family members told me, like he averages one altercation per game. So like what was he like as a college teammate?
No, he was a great college teammate. He was someone as a freshman that I looked up to and kind of wanted to um, play like him, basically. And as that older guy, that older mentor, he kind of taught me a lot of things, the ins and out of what to do on and off the field and things like that. So in that way, I really looked up to him. And I kind of mirrored my game after him, just kind of getting things done on the field with not a lot of talk. Um, Obviously, he did probably a little more trash talking than I did. But
Every game, we love it, man. We're the biggest Nick Gates fans in the world.
But I'm happy for him. I'm glad things worked out for him. There were a lot of people that probably said he wouldn't be able to be in the position he is today, and he continues to prove those guys and people wrong every day. So happy for him, and hopefully we can link up in the future.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, and I know this interview is about you, but it is remarkable what he went from an undrafted free agent who was injured his whole first year, and usually that means you're out of the league. You get your one camp and you're injured, and then to come in, be good at tackle when he went in relief, and then be good at guard, and then make a position switch to center, and I argued was the best offensive lineman on the Giants. So he really does show what guys can do from going undrafted or late in the draft. With that, did you get to meet with the Giants at the Senior Bowl?
I did, yes.
How was that? Did you meet with the scouts, judge? Like, how was that? How were they?
They were good. I met with the regional scouts, so the scouts that looked into me basically. But it was good. Just kind of went over overview of what happened in Nebraska and then like family life.
Froze up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good. You were talking about family life?
I just talked about general stuff like that, and only had like 15 minutes with every team, so it was pretty brief, but felt like it went pretty well. Didn't feel like they didn't like me, basically. So, but yeah, felt like it went well.
We were talking to Dalen Hayes of Notre Dame, and he said that they challenged him. They said, like, you're not good at this. Did they do any of that with you? We're trying to find out if that's kind of a trend with the Giants scouting department.
Yeah, I mean, some teams would ask difficult questions like, "Hey, we see that you're not very good at this. Why is that?" And you'd have to give a good answer or things like that. But it wasn't anything like degrading or anything like that. They just wanted to see how you responded to that type of conversation and that type of adversity. So, like I said before, I think it went well. I hope they did too. And yeah.
What's next for you? Because there's no combine this year. I would assume getting ready for pro day, but I mean, what have you been prepped for, like, to do next besides just train? In this COVID year.
Yeah, pro day. I think pro day is what is next, basically on the agenda. Before we were training a lot of position work for the Senior Bowl and to get ready for that. And so now we're kind of putting that to rest a little bit, and then really focusing on the drills that they're going to be doing at the combat or pro day and things like that. So whether that's the testing portion or the position work, doing that day in and day out. But yeah, that's what's next on the agenda.
Well, Brenden, I appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on. I'm glad that we got your name right now, and Jaimes, not James or Jaimes.
Right.
You're not Jaimes like Winston. You're Jaimes like Brenden. We appreciate you giving us your time, man. Good luck in the rest of the process, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again afterwards as a New York Giant. At least in our biased opinion, that's what we'd like. So,
right.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Have a good one.